Well, welcome back here for myself and to be back in I can't even speak right now. I'm just in excited
You just
about
can't
the
believe
people.
it? It's unbelievable.
I've been in a hole for 12 weeks.
Yeah.
Sitting in my house doing nothing, watching from afar. All of your amazing interviews that you've had with some tremendous people. Can't wait to get back here and excited for the upcoming episodes here, but in particular the conversation that we just had.
Yeah.
I think one of the most inspiring things about her is like how she makes decisions and just goes after it. From the second I met her, I'm like, how does this girl just do things and move forward with such grace, even though she will not say it that way, but just her energy attracts and her ability to like encourage and empower people with like her spirit alone is pretty amazing. So I'm so excited for this conversation.
I had to duck out for the conversation a couple of times and attend to some things, but I heard most of it and it was it's pretty remarkable. But I'm on the wrong side of the seat here, on the wrong side of the table.
I know something got backwards. Is it the video camera, or did I pick the wrong spot again?
No, I think ask me some questions. Talk about that a little bit. Like you said, 12 weeks and
12 weeks seems like a lifetime. So we had to
does.
make some immediate decisions when the world changed.
yeah.
One, to pivot with some event plans that we had that are still going to be amazing when they come to fruition, but that was kind of a hard hit. And then deciding where does this go from here, because life is now completely different.
So where should I start with that? Because I think what people should understand is that I'm not going to be like, I'm not going to co-host, I'm not going to host Courage Over Comfort at all, unless something else happens and I have to step in.
God willing, 2020, let's let it be where it's at, okay?
Where should I start? Well, where would you like me to start?
Well, we left off with our live podcast.
Yeah.
That was the last big thing. And it was like, the tornado came through like right after that and kind of messed everything up. And we, meaning you mostly, had to decide a lot of things really quickly. Like, what did that storm look like? And what was your like immediate reaction to what happens next?
Well, my immediate reaction is like, I don't care a whole lot for somebody else telling me what I need to do.
Really?
And
shocking.
It's amazing that I'm like that. But and what I mean by that is not in a sense of safety and not in a sense of some of those things that make a lot of sense and that are reasonable, but in the sense that what am I free to do? What am I not free to do? Especially living under the Constitution that we have and some of those things. So I did what everybody else did, is I paused, and we discussed that as like, let's take a 2-week pause that they were asking us to do and then make a decision after that. And in our state of Minnesota, that pause isn't even off yet. I mean, it's a slow motion at this point.
Pause-ish.
Yeah. I mean, so when that kind of happened after a few weeks, then we discussed a couple of things and how to move forward, and that your 2 kids weren't in school. And I mean, the reality of us trying to co-host with some of the things that people thought about with the virus and I mean, when I say people, I mean people that were in charge of that kind of process, and here's what the virus is that we know, here's what we don't know, don't get together with anybody, and some of those things. So those decisions had to be made.
Right.
And then so we just said we'll pause a little bit longer. And then after that, I guess I just decided that, you have to move forward and you can pause for a moment. And after that, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense in my mind to stay on pause. And we discussed it, and that I would start hosting the Courage Over Comfort again, and that you would get back to me in about a month and see where things were at.
Right.
So then here towards the end of May,
Yeah.
I think you sent me a text, and we just kind of talked about it. Finally, we were able to connect and meet in person and just go over some of a little bit of expectations and what the thought was. And then I sprung it on you. I said, I'm not going to co-host.
Yeah.
Do you want to actually do this and be the host of it? And you were pretty excited.
Yes.
It's like, get this guy out of here.
No. Well, one, I was excited to get out of my house and to talk
Sure.
to other humans, like not behind a screen. But, I think just over that season, like there was a lot of frustration with just the pause itself.
Yeah.
I think it was a good reflection, and then it got a little annoying. And at that point, it was like my hands were tied. I mean, it's just from a schedule perspective, more than anything, just couldn't make it work. But as I sat back and watched, you continue to have those conversations and be able to put those things out, it became, real from the sideline perspective that these are really important stories. These
Especially
are really
now.
important journeys. And two, that more than ever, like that was a missing part of something that I truly feel passionate about, and sharing those stories and being a part of something that isn't about me, but about other people finding a connection and a reason to make a choice to step out.
Yeah.
And, that's what we're back doing again.
As you said that, I thought about history, right? And I mean history of Courage Over Comfort specifically, but in order to have a future, we have to acknowledge and understand our past, right? And so maybe, I'm just thinking real quick, I started a podcast, Triumph Over Tragedy, and as you and I discussed, we want to blend those stories at this time with what COVID has done and everything. We're going to blend those stories in with Courage Over Comfort. And the idea of Courage Over Comfort was you were a contestant. I mean, I just didn't call you up and say, hey,
Right.
You want to do this.
Yeah.
I had a lot of contestants. My team then picked finalists. I knew that there would be people that I knew in some capacity that would
Right.
probably be a contestant. So I didn't want to have anything to do with the decision-making process.
Smart. Very smart.
And so, thank you. And I think that made it pretty successful for everybody. And I think that there's a few people that have gone on and done like 2 or 3 people that come to mind right now that have gone on and done something
Yep.
based off of being a contestant. My team, at their words, 3 out of the 5, I think it said it exactly like this. Beth knocked it out of the park. And, it was a difficult decision, but
Yeah.
it was that you were the pick. So the idea was, as part of that history is that I would, with being imperfect as I am, I would try to mentor you and help you grow in that communication style and
Sure.
things like that, and help build the podcast of Courage Over Comfort, and then turn it over to the co-host. And
Yeah.
because I've got some other projects that I'm working on, right?
You always have projects.
It's a
always.
few. It's a few. And so some of those passion projects for me is, I think, really important right now in this season to dig in pretty heavily. And so this is a welcome change for me as well. And I think that it's really important for people to understand that I'm not stepping aside from this. It's Matt Logan Speaks. My name's still on it, right?
Right.
And but part of I think I want to tell people part of the explanation of what Matt Logan Speaks is, and when I founded it just 7 months ago or whatever it was when it launched.
Gosh, that's so crazy.
Yeah. And we've done a lot. And
There has been a lot of season in this season.
Yeah, right? And I'm very grateful for the people that continue to reach out and continue to watch and listen to the different things. But part of that goal and my plan, so to speak, that I had written out was the 2 podcasts, the Triumph Over Tragedy and Courage Over Comfort, and then to do live events, which included live podcast events and then live training events where we brought in other speakers and things like that. So that was going pretty well until COVID hit.
Things were on track.
But the long-term goal was Matt Logan Speaks as a channel of positivity, essentially.
Right.
Really trying to build a culture of courage and just realness.
Yes.
Based off of being imperfect.
And I love that you say it because, one, there's the culture aspect, which I think is huge. It's really, you're churning butter, right? Like it gets easier as you go, but it's hard to like start that process.
Yeah.
And I think it's super important, but also to the bigger picture of this always, was something much bigger than everyone can see. And that
Yes.
was what helped to make the decisions, and, what changed was in light of that bigger goal, you're moving a little differently, but still within the same, end game result that you're looking at.
Absolutely. And it was more of a sense of, okay, if we can't have public events, I had 37 schools scheduled for spring from March to actually like, I think the last one was June 8th or something like that.
And think about that. There's 52 weeks in the year.
It's
Just
spring
to
is
throw
always
that out
busy.
there. Yeah.
Spring is always really busy for the school circuit for me. And, that was all wiped out. So you just have to, so essentially basically what I did is I took the front part of the plan and the back part of the plan and kind of flipped them over.
Yeah.
Right. So we started another podcast that Logan Speaks, and that is addiction, abuse, and recovery. Mm-hmm. And that is, I think, obvious what that is for. Now, I'm not even sure if you know this yet. Unchained Brain is coming. And that's another podcast that Logan Speaks is going to be producing and hosting on their channel. And that is going to specifically deal and help with mental and emotional just stuff.
Right.
Right? That's
Which
just...
I'm sure there's a little bit more of that in this time.
There is, and there always is. And so I want to provide tools to equip people just to really manage their day.
Yeah. Across all boards. And I think that's the cool part of these different channels is they're all tools. And you're just specifically addressing, certain areas of people's lives. Like if we don't address it, it doesn't get fixed.
Yes, correct.
Right?
You have to, you remember my Doritos bag?
Yes.
And my backpack?
Yes.
And I think so what that basically, for those of you who don't know what that is, and a lot of you don't. So, I speak and I bring a bag of Doritos with, and I bring my backpack with. And what I do is I hold up the bag of Doritos and I put it, as you noticed, the bag of Doritos was there for everyone to see immediately when they came in. Mm-hmm. It was right on stage, lights shining on it.
Of course, everyone's like, why is he just leaving
his
Doritos out?
Exactly. It's in case I get hungry.
Right. You never know when hunger is going to hit.
That's right. But this isn't a plug for Doritos either, but everybody knows what's in a bag of Doritos. Mm-hmm. You see the bag. It's you're in marketing. Yep. You know what it's about. You know how important the shiny bag is. You know how important what it says on there and all those things. And so we know what's inside of that bag. It's not a guess.
Yeah.
And so when I bring my backpack along and, I hold my backpack up and I said, this is actually me, there's monsters in this backpack. This backpack is beat up and dirty, but there's also tools in this backpack that I can unpack and help deal with those monsters, right? Because we carry our monsters with us. Mm-hmm. Always. We cannot get rid of them.
Yeah.
We can confront them. Mm-hmm. We can negotiate with them a little bit.
Right.
And then we can put them in their compartment.
Yeah.
But we have to have the tools to deal with that.
Yep.
And so many people deal with mental and emotional stressors and things like that, especially now. People deal with addiction and abuse, and they need to recover.
Right.
And so those are tools that I wanted to be able to put into people's backpacks, right? Because I carry them. I'm not good at it.
Yeah.
But I have them, and I just want to share them.
Yes.
Right. And that's the idea. I'm not going to host Unchained Brain, by the way. That's just another project that's happening. But
you're the visionary bringing all of these opportunities to life. I think that's the huge piece of this, that, you're bringing these opportunities to share these tools and collectively bringing people together to help do that, right? Like someone else has to help host,
for sure.
In order to make the reach and impact that you're looking to make.
Yeah.
And now a quick break. And it's not a Kit Kat, sorry. And now back to the episode.
Because I don't have I don't have the capacity mentally and emotionally to deal with some of the things that you have to deal with to run all those things, right? Like, or host all those things is maybe a better way to put it.
Yeah.
That just can't be done by one person. And you know my circles, right? I mean, you know what that means to me and how bringing people into that circle, and not only that, the people that really try to block you out and don't like, when you continue to reach out to somebody and they just don't text you back or they don't do those things, you know how important it is to me. You know firsthand, I just want to draw a circle around their circle that's blocking me out, and now you're in mine, right? And I think that just is a way to break down some barriers and things like that, which is so important right now because there's so many barriers and
more than
fingers.
ever. I think like, you know, physically and however else we can position that, but we were required to put up barriers, right? Like, don't do this, you know, block this, don't go here. You know, and I think the isolation of that activity in general, like, impacts people in such a huge way. And
enormous.
You know, I think of Golden Girls, which, side note, it's one of my favorite shows. If I can end up like that, life will be great. But, you know, it's like, come on, knock on our door. We're waiting for you, right? Like, the all-inclusivity approach and creating that culture of courage, that's game-changing. That changes people's lives. And I think, you know, it's not just a podcast. It's the message that's being delivered to the person that needs to hear it. And that's what changes people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that when you can, so my platform is, you know, my daughter died. I went through divorce. I had a business that I lost due to fire and no prayer of recovery, all within 7 months. And I don't.
The 7 months that we've been doing this, like, look at those seasons.
That's a really good point. And that all happened, and I had to respond to them, and I had a choice on how to respond to them. But I don't have a college degree. I'm not somebody that is doing this because I thought this would be a cool thing to do. I'm doing this because my platform is pain.
Sure.
And how I can stand on that platform of pain and not be buried by it. Right. That's, I think, the big difference. Stand on it. Here it is. It's under my feet. And here's what I learned through it.
Yeah. And I think pain shows passion.
For sure.
You know, when you are able to identify the pain and what that means in your life, it really leads you to what you're truly passionate about, you know, in the long run. Yeah.
And I just saw so much self-victimization, I guess maybe is a way to put it. Like, I would look at things and I'd be like, and even in my own life pre my daughter's death, there would be times, hopefully only moments, that I felt like a victim of things.
Sure.
But I really understood that victim mentality after going through those things because I chose not to have it.
Yeah.
Sure were there moments, of course.
Well, and the moments is that, you know, like, reaction to whatever, like, they're, you know, we automatically react some way.
Yeah.
However we're conditioned to do, and eventually that can change, but our first reaction sometimes is like, oh, poor me, why me?
Completely. In fact, I teach on a little segment that I say, you know, problem plus disaster, or I just lost my train of thought. Problem plus reaction equals disaster, right? So if you have a problem that happens and you just react to that problem, that is a disaster. Every time. But problem plus solutions, you know, what does that equal?
Right.
I mean, that equals like everything.
Change.
Complete change.
Yeah.
And so that's really what it's about is not running from it or not ignoring it, not communicating about it, but actually acknowledging what that is and not reacting to it. Then you can be proactive in a sense.
Right.
Train yourself to.
And it's conditioning. I mean, like you do for a race or whatever else you're working towards from a physical standpoint, our minds take 3 times as much work. When you've got conditioning in your head to always be a victim or to, you know, always approach things a certain way, like, it's hard to, you know, change the Titanic's direction, right?
Completely. But we can also discover the Titanic and learn from it too, right? We all have Titanic moments in our life. And I want to be really clear that there are victims in life, but the victim mentality, I think, is what's so important, right?
Is the cycle.
Yes.
More so than the action or event that happened.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So there are victims of multiple things, but that the mentality is what is so dangerous, and that's what I'm trying to help people through.
Right. Well, and I think it goes back to that culture,
Yeah.
that you can continually sit right in the comfort of, well, it's just always happening to me, and this is just how my life goes, and you become comfortable with that cycle, and that's a dangerous place to be.
Oh boy. Extremely
dangerous. And I think that's, so cool to have these tools come out and just acknowledge it. Just to call it what it is. It's okay to have an opinion. It's okay to, doubt yourself. It's okay to have gone through crap and feel like a little hopeless.
Yeah.
But it's what you do next.
Yes.
That's where it changes or not.
It's the steps. You can step either direction. I mean, completely forward, backward, sideways, whatever.
Yeah,
I mean, you
absolutely.
can. And those steps are going to be forced if you don't take them. And usually if they're forced, it's a negative instead of a positive.
Yeah.
So don't let your steps be forced, right?
It's so true. If you ever played video games like the old school ones, right? I know nothing about the new ones. I can't play Minecraft
I remember
to save
when
my life.
Atari came out.
Right. Well, in Nintendo, right? The screen keeps moving. And if you don't move, the screen moves Mario for you. And it just keeps pushing them ahead.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happens in life. He can choose to strategically look a few jumps ahead and start making progress and do things differently. Otherwise, the screen's just going to keep pushing them along.
It's a
You're
perfect
still moving
analogy.
Forward,
Yeah, I like that. You
all I
thought
know is
about
Mario.
that, right?
That's the only game reference I could come up with. But
you have that in your backpack, right? So that you can reference.
That or I can keep my kids entertained. One of the two.
Yeah, perfect. Hopefully, it doesn't quite look like 2020 it's going to be feasible, but hopefully the live events that have gone, there's just a ton of planning that's gone into it.
Yeah.
Hopefully that will happen in 2021, early 2021. It just with the way restrictions are, let's call them. I'm not sure it's going to happen.
Restrictions are now going to have such a bad connotation to it after all of this. But.
Totally. So what I guess maybe where I should go with it is it's just a matter of looking at different opportunities and where those opportunities lie.
Right.
I was in the middle of negotiating. Well, as you know, we had May planned for Rochester, Minnesota. I was in the middle of negotiating 2 different falls in Kansas City, Missouri, and then in Springfield, Missouri.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're like, well, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
It might still happen. It's unlikely.
Right.
But so the process that you go through to have a live event is, I mean, it's extreme.
I don't think anybody understood the impact of what goes into live events until everything like this changed.
I agree.
I mean,
it's enormous.
Yeah.
On a
money,
small scale like we're
planning,
doing,
yeah.
It's enormous.
It's humongous. The event industry has forever been changed.
Yeah.
For sure. But yeah, I definitely took a huge shift. I just don't even think that word gives it justice. But, it
Totally.
forced a huge change and on so many levels. So
Yeah.
kudos to you for being able to navigate that.
Oh, you just got to navigate.
Yeah.
You don't have a choice, really. So, yeah. Thought in Perspective with Matt Logan is my passion project. And so I'm going to be sharing, that's going to be a mini podcast or whatever you want to call it. I'm going to be sharing a thought and then my perspective on that. So I'm going to take a lot of the different teachings and speeches and things that I've done, and I'm going to take my shiny and teach on that, right?
Yeah.
That's going to kind of be just my perspective. And I think, I hope that my hope with it is to understand that to have people understand that this is my perspective.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to be theirs.
Sure.
But it's that hopefully it'll open the door to other people's perspectives as they walk their daily life.
Right.
And I think that's crucial right now. I didn't really plan on doing that until after this year.
Yeah.
But obviously with flipping things around, we're pushing forward with it and things like that. And I just another tool.
Well, and I think it's something too, that I've appreciated about you is, that you do put those things out there and make those decisions consciously to step out and to do things differently and challenge the thought, right? One, you're putting things out there in a way that is an example to people that you can publicly put out your opinion. And if someone agrees or not, that doesn't matter. But that's the whole point, is that you're out there. I think the other side of that is what is being talked about. And that's the challenge of, here's a different perspective. You don't have to agree with me, but maybe think there's possibly a different way to look at it. Those are two things that are really big, I think. Yeah,
completely. And what I don't understand, especially in the heat of where we're at right now as a country, is why one opinion is really all that anybody will look at right now.
Right.
And I don't say that and mean it in disrespect at all, but there's things that you and I don't agree on. There's things that a lot of people that I work with, we don't agree on.
Right.
But we work together.
Yeah.
I think that's just, it's so crucial. So I also kind of teach on crucial and important. In fact, Malia's heard it.
Yeah.
Like seriously, she has. I know she has.
Oh, I know she has. She's talked about it.
So the crucial and important thing is like, the things in life that are so crucial are understanding that we're each individuals, and that literally the way our founding fathers set this up is to understand that we all think differently.
Yeah.
But yet we can all collectively get along in that aspect,
right,
of society, and that is crucial to understand.
Yeah.
Does one person need more attention at certain times? Not sure I agree with that. I think that some people might need more help at certain times. More attention might be negative, but certainly need more help at certain times, and that's my perspective.
And now, a quick break for you to think about all the things you love in life, like Skittles. I love Skittles. And now, back to the episode.
Doesn't make it right, but it doesn't make it wrong.
Right.
That's how I think.
Well, and I think, you had said that, people can collectively work together, and I want to take that in the next levels. Like, that is what also makes things better and different, is because people have those, so it's not just like we should all respect each other's opinion and we can work together. Like, we should be, like, multiple perspectives can be powerful in moving things forward.
Yeah,
done respectfully.
Yeah, exactly. In all aspects, in all walks of life, and all different things that happen in life, like corporate, family, podcast stuff, all of those things, people can collaborate and bring ideas together, not because they're right or they're wrong, but because they're ideas and it might help somebody else or whatever. Posterity. I almost said prosperity. Posterity. Like that's why I do this, right? Like, I have now 2 grandkids. You probably didn't even know that yet.
There's
but
2
I
now.
have 2 grandkids now.
Well, congratulations.
One was just born a few days ago. And so that's, I think, what's being lost right now in society is that nobody looks to build for future generations as much.
Gosh, yes, I 100% agree with that.
And which also means, and I said earlier, we can't have a future without a past. And look at how far that we've come in the 7 months of Matt Logan Speaks.
Yeah.
In
I can't
the
believe
midst,
it's only been 7 months.
Yeah, it's September or 8 months or whatever. Yeah. And so just in that short period of time, look at the I don't even know if I want to say progress, but just the ability to get from there to here, in the middle of all this stuff.
Right.
I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's been a lot of hard work put into that, yes, but that's no different than any other time.
Right.
And so the reason it's being built is because I care about people's grandkids. I care about people's great grandkids.
Yeah.
Not just my own.
Right.
And if we can refocus on that, I think that would really change a lot of things. So posterity, that's what this is about.
Agreed. Well, and I think that, we forget the impact of the ripple, right? Like we are so hyper-focused on ourselves and our current state, our current season, that we're not, looking to how these things impact, and I can talk for hours on all those things that, are involved with that. But I love that you say, future generations, because what we do now matters.
Enormously, more than we could ever imagine.
Right. And how we, bring that to light. And now with a platform that allows, a massive reach and targeted content, there's a lot of people's lives that can change, not just the lives that are impacted, but the future, right? Like if we can impact somebody going through, an addiction cycle, who's all connected to them?
Yes.
There's so many people that are connected to each person that we share their story, and the people that are listening, right? So the impact is immense.
It is. It's so far-reaching, and I think short-sightedness is what gets everybody. Like we're so worried about what we're going to eat for dinner, or what we're going to do for, or where we're going to have drinks next weekend, or all those other things that's so much focus. Not that we shouldn't consider those things. Obviously, we need to eat every day, and we need to. But how much focus is being taken on that? A new car and this and that, and we're not thinking about, okay, what if my story impacts Dawson's great grandkids, in ways that I'll never know. I won't be around.
And I think that's hard for people to connect to, because they're like, well, I'm not going to be around to know. Like, you don't need to know.
No.
It doesn't need to be the validation piece of it, that we don't need to get credit, and that's, I think, the difference in certain things, that the focus isn't on what your platform is and how that, is built. It's also everything else that's built around it. And I think that that's so different about a platform, that you're not just building you for a brand.
Right. It's sustainable future, right? Sustainable growth as a society, as people, that I think is being just unconsidered.
Right.
You think about the founding fathers, and they weren't perfect by any means. Just like me.
Yeah.
I'm not perfect by any means. Yeah. But look at the wealth that they invested in this. I mean, real wealth.
Yeah.
Like, imagine what the risks they took with their wealth. They were wealthy.
If we ever compared our lives to that in the same context, we'd be mind blown.
Completely. I mean, they literally risked their current happiness for actually having a future for their kids and grandkids and so on. Literally. Like they literally sacrificed that happiness at that moment for very hard times. Look what George Washington went through.
Yeah.
I mean, the dude almost died several times.
Yeah. And
we don't get that.
No, because we're in an immediate gratification type culture.
Totally.
Yeah.
And is there anything wrong with that? No. But we have to understand there's going to be a future. We have to understand that first.
Beyond us.
Way beyond us. And so when we can do that, really grasp that, I think then we can understand that the all the feels, like that's the word, right? That's one of I heard like the word just this week in a couple of different locations, even on an airplane. All the feels are this, and I'm like, sounds like an album or something. Like, that would make sense. But if we make our decisions off of how we feel right now, that's pretty disastrous.
That is a huge thing. And I'm a big proponent. I do have the feels, but I also try to remove that from the impact of decisions, because nobody feels like doing things every day, and people don't, they can become very short-sighted when it comes to feelings, and
feelings
what
are
other
extremely
things.
important and have to be acknowledged, embraced, understood. When
Don't use them as a compass, though.
No, that's a good way to put it. Exactly.
I can't, speak more than, I'm a logical thinker by nature. That's just how I operate. But I'm trying to just navigate the feelings, and acknowledge them and have them, and then figure out, okay, now what do I need to do?
Yeah.
And I think that's hard. And life is hard. And the whole perspective of all of these platforms that you're using, in different areas is just to help people move forward.
Yeah.
To give them something, because we can't just assume that someone else will. We can't assume that they'll get these tools another way, And I think that's the cool part about what we're doing is, they may get tools other ways, but this is one opportunity that we have to make that impact. And I think assuming that people will figure it out, or assuming that someone else will do the work or make the change, is why we're going to stay stuck and not moving forward.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good way to wrap this up, as just what you said there. Somebody else will do it. Somebody else will do it. Somebody else will do it.
Yeah.
Somebody else will do it.
We just need to say somebody did.
Yeah.
That's where it changes.
So can you.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone can.
Yeah.
And it's a choice. And there's always people that will help you level up. Just be open to it, to your point. Just be open and be ready.
End it.
We're going to wrap it up. Courage over comfort is changing, but the bigger picture is not.
No, it's not changing. It's not changing. The host is changing.
That's changing. Yes.
But
the
it's
host
not,
is changing.
Yeah.
So we don't get our whole collaborative thing, but we'll have conversations on so many other levels. It'll be great.
I'll probably not really see you very much. We talked about that too.
Well, you haven't for 12 weeks, and I think you made it okay.
I did. Sorry, Beth. But I brought, someone on to help with camera work and all that kind of stuff too, so that I don't have to be here for that.
Yeah.
And
in the season of a lot of people's change and isolation, you were planting. And the cool part about this next season is going to be the spring of all that planting. Yeah. So I'm excited to see what that looks like across the board, and continue to bring great stories to everyone that is in this circle.
Excellent.
So thank you.
Stay shiny.